Welcome to the deep dive. We basically take a whole bunch of interesting sources and boil them down to the key insights just for you, the learner.
Yeah, it's like getting the Cliff's Notes, but, deeper. A shortcut to being really well informed without feeling totally swamped.
Exactly. So today we're diving into Afwan RIyadi's Impact Book 1.pdf. It's the first book in a trilogy, and we're going to unpack themes like personal growth, resilience, and productivity, but all looked at from an Islamic perspective.
And Riyadi's background is pretty relevant here. He was born in Solo, Indonesia back in '76.
Okay.
Got involved in dawah, that's like inviting people to understand Islam quite early on. Worked with Islamic journals, even got into children's animation with a faith focus.
Oh, interesting.
And his humanitarian work, I mean, he even met Dr. Ismail Haniyeh. That experience definitely shapes his view on making an impact.
Right, brings a real-world perspective. So our mission today is simple. Pull out the really actionable stuff from Impact Book 1.
Stuff that can help you, the learner, quickly get a solid grasp on self-improvement grounded in these Islamic teachings.
We're hunting for those surprising insights, those aha moments that make things click.
Let's get started. Part 1 is all about the foundation.
Yeah, the first chapter is called Rooted the Origin of Yourself. Sounds fundamental.
It really is. It kicks off with this concept of fitra.
Fitra.
Wow.
Okay, what's the core idea there?
It's described as like the essence of human nature, that original pure inner compass we all supposedly have from birth.
Like a default setting.
Sort of, yeah. The book references the Quran, Surah Ar-Rum, verse 30, which talks about this innate disposition God instilled in humanity.
Okay, so Fitra, this innate programming, Riyadi gives an example, right, to make it concrete.
He does a really powerful one. The transformation of Malcolm X.
Oh.
His journey back to, well, a more orthodox understanding of Islam is presented as a return to that fitra, finding that deep-rooted purpose through faith after a lot of searching.
That makes sense. So how does Riyadi break down this human nature?
He looks at it in 3 dimensions, all interconnected. First up is the mind.
The mind, okay.
The emphasis here is that seeking knowledge, seeking understanding. It's not like you reach a finish line. It's an ongoing journey.
Constantly learning.
Exactly. He brings in the Quran again, Surah Taha, verse 114, "My Lord, increase me in knowledge." It highlights that continuous pursuit.
And it's not just about absorbing facts, is it? He mentions questioning.
Yeah, he does this interesting thing linking Socrates' "I know that I know nothing" with a verse from Surah Muhammad about reflecting deeply on the Quran.
So active engagement is key, not just passive learning.
Precisely. And he stresses it's not solitary. Understanding grows through conversations, collaborations. There's even a hadith mentioned.
A saying or action of the Prophet Muhammad.
Right, from Sunan ibn Majah, basically framing seeking knowledge itself as an act of worship in Islam.
Okay, mind is dimension 1. What's next?
The body, which Riyadi frames beautifully, I think, as the vessel that carries you.
Yeah.
He points to a hadith from Sahih al-Bukhari, reminding us that our bodies have rights over us, needs we have to respect. It's part of the whole picture.
So it's about respecting the vessel.
And crucially, finding balance. The book warns against both neglecting the body and becoming obsessed with appearance.
Like the Narcissus myth he mentions.
Exactly, that's the cautionary tale. And another hadith is referenced to remind us that true worth isn't about looks.
And mental health fits in here too.
Definitely. Riyadi connects rest and mental well-being to a verse in the Quran, Surah Ash-Shar, about ease coming after hardship. It's a holistic view. Physical, mental, it's all linked.
Mind, body. What's the third dimension?
The soul. Riyadi calls it the forgotten dimension sometimes.
Forgotten. Why?
Well, in the hustle, maybe it gets overlooked, but he argues it's the source of genuine inner peace.
Okay.
He highlights that powerful verse from the Quran, Arad 13.28. Verily, the remembrance of Allah do hearts find rest.
So connecting spiritually is where true peace lies.
That's the idea. We need to actively make space for the soul reflection prayer, that kind of thing.
Mind, body, soul. Got it. But keeping them all aligned, that sounds like the tricky part.
Absolutely. And that's where Riyadi brings in the concept of balance, the synergy, the harmony between these 3.
He uses an analogy, doesn't he?
Yeah, the smartphone one. Yeah, having too many apps open at once. If one part is overloaded or neglected, the whole system just lags.
That's so relatable. And imbalance has real consequences, right?
Definitely. He references the Quran again, Al-Baqarah 2.195, warning against throwing ourselves into destruction.
Yeah.
He even cites CDC stats on the risks of inactivity.
So physical neglect is a form of self-destruction in a way.
And spiritual neglect, too.
Yeah.
He keeps coming back to that idea. Nourishing the spirit is essential, echoing that verse about hearts finding rest in remembering Allah.
It's not just theory, though. He brings in other evidence.
There's a quote from Steve Jobs about loving what you do, and findings from happiness studies linking things like spiritual practice, exercise, and learning to life satisfaction.
A multi-pronged approach to well-being.
And he offers Muhammad Ali as a real-life example.
Ah, the boxer.
But more than that, right?
Hmm.
An incredible athlete, yes, but also a deep thinker, a man of faith, someone focused on serving others. He embodied that balance.
So balance isn't a destination, it's ongoing.
Exactly. Riyadi stresses it's a process. It requires constant self-awareness, making adjustments as life inevitably knocks us off balance.
Okay, so how do we practically work on this balance?
Good question. Riyadi gets practical here. For feeding your mind, he contrasts like mindlessly doom scrolling with engaging in deep thinking.
Yeah, easy trap to fall into.
He reiterates the Islamic emphasis on seeking knowledge, that hadith from Ibn Majah again, and mentions the National Academy's study on lifelong learning benefits.
What are the actionable steps then?
Things like intentionally choose books over endless scrolling, maybe take an online course, try mindfulness, use techniques like Pomodoro for focus.
Pomodoro, like the timer?
Yeah, short bursts of focus.
Yeah.
The point isn't just more information, it's gaining perspective.
Makes sense. And for the body, strengthening your body.
He links physical health directly to our capacity for worship, referencing a hadith from Tirmidhi.
So being fit helps your faith practice.
In a way, yes, and he emphasizes sleep big time. Talks about the prophet's schedule and what neuroscience tells us now about sleep's importance.
And the soul, nourishing your soul.
This involves prayer, gratitude, reflection. He mentions that Quran verse 13.28 again, but also Harvard studies showing gratitude's benefits.
Like the prophet retreating to the cave.
Exactly, the cave of Hira, seeking that spiritual clarity. And another key part of nourishing the soul he highlights is giving.
Giving, how so?
He points to research on generosity boosting well-being and links it straight to Islamic concepts like zakat, obligatory charity, and sadaqah, voluntary charity. Helping others nourishes your soul.
Okay, that provides a solid framework for balance. Now, where does passion and purpose fit in?
That comes next. Riyadi connects finding passion and purpose right back to that core concept, fitra, our innate nature.
Back to the beginning.
The advice is to consciously silence the noise. He references Imam al-Ghazali's idea of khalwa, purposeful solitude, to hear your inner voice.
So quiet the external distractions.
And pay attention internally. What brings you joy? What causes you pain? He even brings in Viktor Frankl here. Sometimes our pain points towards our purpose.
Wow. And purpose isn't just about me, right?
Definitely not. Riyadi emphasizes that purpose is often found in serving others. That's a recurring theme in Hadith literature. Contribution is key.
To help us process all this, Riyadi includes a reflection exercise.
Yep, your rooted reflection. It is a short 3-day mini-mission with specific questions to get you thinking about your own roots, your fitra, your balance.
Okay, so part 1 lays the foundation, gets us rooted. What's part 2 about?
Part 2 is grow where change becomes character. This is where we start moving, evolving.
Makes sense. Growth follows roots.
Exactly. This chapter tackles the need for growth head-on, but also acknowledges that, well, change is hard. We resist it.
Yeah, comfort zones are comfortable.
Right. But Riyadi stresses that real growth often happens outside that zone. He introduces the Japanese concept of kaizen here.
Kaizen. Continuous improvement.
That's the one. Small, incremental improvements over time, rather than trying to make huge leaps all at once. Less intimidating, more sustainable.
That sounds much more manageable.
And it ties nicely into Carol Dweck's work on fixed versus growth mindsets.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that. Fixed mindset thinks abilities are static. Growth mindset thinks they can be developed.
Exactly. A growth mindset sees challenges not as threats, but as opportunities to learn, to get better. Riyadi also touches on Anders Ericsson's research on deliberate practice.
The 10,000-hour rule guy. Well, Malcolm Gladwell popularized it from Ericsson's work.
Right, both pointing to the power of focused, consistent effort in building skill.
He gives examples of this kind of perseverance.
Prophet Muhammad's resilience in Mecca before the Hijrah, facing intense opposition. And there's an Einstein quote about sticking with problems longer.
Powerful stuff. And our environment matters too, right? Who we hang out with.
Hugely influential. Riyadi cites a hadith basically saying, you tend to adopt the ways of your close friends. And modern studies back this up. Your social circle shapes your mindset.
So choose your friends wisely. Then he talks about potential, finding your best potential.
Yeah, he likens it to uncovering a treasure chest within yourself.
Okay, nice image.
It requires self-awareness, knowing yourself and finding that passion. But, and this is key, that potential isn't just for you. It should be used to benefit others. Another link back to Hadith.
That leads into Ikigai, doesn't it?
It does.
Ugh.
The Japanese concept, a reason for being,
How does he explain Ikigai?
through 4 overlapping circles: what you love doing, your passion,
Okay.
what you're actually good at, your vocation or skills,
Right.
what the world needs, your mission,
Mm-hmm.
and importantly, what you can be paid for, your profession.
So the sweet spot is where all 4 intersect.
That's the idea, finding that alignment. And Riyadi connects this beautifully to Islamic ideas serving Allah, using God-given talents responsibly.
Like those verses in Surah Ad-Dariyat and Anal.
Exactly. And that hadith about the best people being the most beneficial comes up again. Plus, the practical need for lawful earnings is acknowledged.
And purpose isn't static. It can change.
He makes that point too, referencing a verse suggesting our actions are seen and our purpose can evolve. He mentions Hector Garcia's book on Ikigai and the long, purposeful lives in Okinawa.
So he breaks down each Ikigai element with Islamic links.
Yeah, systematically. What you love ties to fitra. What you're good at connects to using talents wisely. What the world needs aligns with our duty to help others. And what you can be paid for stresses lawful income.
Finding that intersection, that's the goal. Then he revisits the growth mindset.
Yes, reinforcing that learning, improving, growing, these are core Islamic values. But he also acknowledges it's tough in our instant results world.
So how do we cultivate it?
Practical tips. Reframe challenges, add the word yet, like I haven't figured this out yet. Learn from criticism instead of getting defensive. See effort as the path, not a punishment.
That Quran verse about ease with hardship again.
Surah Ashar, yeah. And find inspiration and role models who persevered, like J.K. Rowling.
Okay, mindset is crucial. What about actions? He talks about habits, right?
Big time. The power of small habits. He references James Clear's Atomic Habits.
Very popular book.
The core idea. Small, consistent actions lead to massive results over time. It aligns perfectly with Islamic teachings about consistent small deeds being beloved, like in Surah Al-Az and certain hadith.
The airplane analogy. Small adjustments make a big difference in destination.
That's the one. And the Quranic verse about an atom's weight of good deeds mattering, Surah Al-Zalzala, every little bit counts.
So what are the tips for building these habits from Atomic Habits?
Start small, ridiculously small if needed. Make it obvious, integrate it into your environment. Make it attractive, pair it with something you enjoy. Make it easy, reduce friction. Make it satisfying, reward yourself.
And don't break the chain, keep the streak going.
Yeah. That's a key principle. He also mentions tying the habit to your identity. I am a person who exercises versus I try to exercise.
Shifts the mindset.
And habit stacking, linking a new habit to one you already do. Like, after I brush my teeth, I will read 1 page of a book.
Makes it automatic. But it takes time, right? Habits don't form instantly.
Definitely not. Riyadi emphasizes patience, self-compassion. It's a process.
This leads to the SMART goals section.
Exactly. From theory to action. He introduces the SMART method for setting effective goals.
Specific, measurable.
Achievable, relevant, and time-bound. He breaks down each one.
Why are SMART goals so effective?
They provide clarity, specific, let you track progress, measurable, keep it realistic. Achievable, he links this to not being overburdened, like in the Quran. Ensure it matters to you, relevant. And add urgency, time-bound.
And these goals can become habits.
So that's the idea. They build the foundation for habits that shape who you are. Again, patience and consistent small steps are key, echoing Islamic principles.
So the growth section is all about those small, deliberate steps. And there's a challenge.
Yep, your 21-day challenge. One small habit to improve yourself. Pick one small thing, commit for 21 days, track it, reflect on it. Simple, actionable.
Okay, rooted, then grow. What's part 3?
Part 3 is great discipline and consistency wins.
Grit. Like perseverance, determination.
Exactly. But Riyadi defines it as a mix. Strong intention, niyat, solid discipline, and unwavering consistency. He argues grit often matters more than raw talent.
And there's an Islamic connection?
Absolutely. Back to that core hadith about consistent small deeds being most beloved to Allah. He also cites a Harvard Business Review study showing consistency's power.
Examples of gritty people.
He mentions J.K. Rowling again, Thomas Edison's persistence, and Imam Bukhari's incredible dedication compiling hadith.
Okay. He emphasizes intention, niyat, quite a bit here.
Hugely important. It's about why you're doing something. He references the famous hadith. Actions are judged by intentions.
So the why matters as much as the what.
Maybe even more. He cites psychology studies showing clear intentions boost effectiveness and HBR research linking purpose to lower burnout. Sincere niyat can elevate even mundane tasks to worship.
Like Imam an-Nawawi's example.
Right. And Stanford research showing values-based intentions predict long-term success. Even mission-driven companies like Patagonia get a mention.
How do we build better niyat? Any tips?
Several. Check intentions before acting. Reflect regularly. Align intentions with values. Write them down. Share them wisely. Be wary of hijacked intentions seeking praise instead of pleasing Allah. Focus on unseen rewards. Understand acting lillahi ta'ala purely for God's sake.
That's quite comprehensive. Then comes discipline.
Yes, the power of discipline. He defines it beyond just routines. It's the inner force pushing you forward. He mentions Angela Duckworth's work showing self-discipline predicts success better than IQ sometimes.
And habits help automate discipline.
Exactly. Reduces the need for constant willpower. He stresses the compound effect of small disciplines, the need for self-forgiveness after slip-ups, and the importance of rest.
Discipline in one area can spill over.
That's the idea. He suggests a 30-day challenge to build discipline in one specific area.
Any quick wins for discipline?
Yeah. Tackle the easiest task first for momentum. Visualize success, drawing on Duhigg's power of habit. Build systems, not just goals. Use habit stacking again.
Systems over goals. Interesting. And consistency.
Crucial is what turns potential into reality. He cites a UCL study on habit formation time and Duckworth's point that perseverance beats talent.
Addresses the "I'm not motivated" excuse.
Directly. Discipline is the key, not waiting for motivation. Successful people just keep showing up. Consistency even fuels creativity. Track progress, start tiny.
Tips for consistency.
Start really small. Build systems. That again. Tie habits to identity. Use the 2-day rule, never miss twice. Gamify it. Make failure costly. Accountability. Surround yourself with consistent people.
Building systems seems like a recurring theme.
Definitely. Less reliance on fickle motivation. He wraps up the grit section by calling it beautiful, brutal, and life-changing.
Highlighting its importance for long-term goals.
Cites studies on purpose, acknowledges failure as part of it. Michael Jordan quote. Ways to cultivate grit. Set long-term goals. Embrace struggle. Find gritty role models.
And another challenge.
The 30-day, I'll do it no matter what challenge. Pick one thing. Make it visible. Be relentlessly consistent. No excuses. Reflect weekly.
Okay. Rooted, grow, grit. Next up, steel.
Part 4. Steel resilient mind, unshakable spirit. This is about inner strength.
Resilience. Bouncing back from difficulty.
Exactly. Standing tall even in internal storms, anxiety, doubt. He connects it to the Quran, struggle is necessary for growth, and a hadith about the believer finding good in both ease, gratitude, and hardship.
The APA also finds resilience beneficial, right?
Yes, he mentions their findings and emphasizes that steel minds are forged through challenges, not by avoiding them. Sacred persistence and reliance on Allah tawakkul are key.
He talks about grit and grace together, striving and tawakkul.
Yes, a really important section. Effort, grit, and surrender trust in Allah, tawakkul, grace, aren't opposites in Islam. They work together.
Like the Quran verses saying humans get what they strive for, but also to trust in the ever-living God.
Precisely. Our effort is recorded, but the outcome is with Allah. Ibn Qayyim's analogy. Tawakkul is like a baby's complete trust in its mother.
And there's a neuroscience link, trust-reducing cortisol.
He mentions that finding. Importantly, tawakkul doesn't mean passivity. It means striving with trust, directing your effort correctly.
How do we build this tawakkul? Tiny habits.
10 of them. Reframe delays as potential wisdom. See tests as growth opportunities. Detach from outcomes while still trying. Make dua, prayer, your first response. Practice active gratitude. Look for hidden blessings. Trust the unseen. Focus on what you can control. Let go of needing to know why. Anchor your heart in Allah.
That's a powerful list. Then he tackles internal resistance, the inner critic.
Yeah, calls it the real final boss. Things like mental blocks, overthinking, fear of failure, fear of judgment, perfectionism, people-pleasing.
How does he approach these?
With Islamic insights and psychology. Mental blocks. Like Bani Israel, hesitating fear inhibits action. Victory needs trust. Tawakkul links to exposure therapy. Belief in higher purpose increases bravery. UMich study.
Overthinking.
Anxiety disguised as wisdom. Delays obedience. Al-Shazali. The formula. Consult, decide, then trust Allah. Quran 3.159. Interrupts the rumination cycle, like CBT.
Fear of failure.
Common obstacle. Quran says don't weaken or grieve, 3.139. Your worth isn't your win-loss ratio.
Fear of judgment.
The what will people think? Prison. Spotlight effect makes us overestimate how much others notice. Principle. Please Allah, not people. Prophet's example. Speak truth. Quran 4.135. Judgment is inevitable anyway.
Perfectionism.
Hinders striving. Excellence matters. Perfectionism paralyzes.
People pleasing.
Contrast with Islamic dignity and boundaries. Prophet's example again. Linked to anxiety burnout. Quran warns against following the crowd blindly. 6.116. Please Allah first.
So, facing resistance builds that steel.
Exactly. Leads to built to bend, never to break. He offers 10 reminders for strength. Know who you are. Feel feelings, then flip the switch. Set boundaries like sunnah. Build habits like training. Turn rejection into redirection. Upgrade self-talk now. Surround yourself with good people, hadith. Rest without guilt. Anchor into tawakkul, Quran 65.3. Remember, you're built for this.
And a steel starter pack with many missions.
Yep. Write your bounce-back story. Do the trust but tie your camel challenge, balancing faith and action. Make a resilience playlist. Start a resilience jar, small wins. Check in with your inner circle, practical tips.
Rooted, grow, grit, steel. The final part is focus.
Chapter 5. Focus, master your time, master your life.
Productivity. But he challenges the busy, productive idea.
Right away, productivity without purpose is just noise. This chapter is about clarity, focusing on what truly matters.
He debunks the productivity myth.
Yeah, contrast modern hustle culture with figures like Imam al-Ghazali, who achieved greatness through deep, undistracted work. Cal Newport's deep work gets a nod. True productivity is about sincerity, intention, quality.
So focus is the new superpower in our distracted world.
That's his argument. Connects it to the Quran's advice to guard senses, Al-Isra 36, and neuroscience showing focus activates the prefrontal cortex.
The Prophet's example of giving full attention.
Focus brings dignity, reclaims our attention from constant stimuli.
What are the hidden time wasters he identifies?
Multitasking, which is mostly task switching, saying yes to everything, feeling guilty about resting, pointless meetings, perfecting before starting, notification addiction. Sound familiar?
Yeah, pretty much all of them.
He suggests time blocking as a science-backed fix, scheduling specific chunks of time for specific tasks. Regain sanity.
And mindful focus, being present.
Essential. Connects to Surah Azr, the value of time and being fully engaged.
Routines are important too, building an ideal day.
Very. Cites examples like Obama, Maya Angelou, Imam al-Shafi'i. Emphasizes rhythm over rigidity. Consistency helps, like seeking help through patience and prayer. Quran 2.45. Routines should serve you and evolve with you.
It's about intentional living then, not just time management.
Exactly. Aligning time with values, mission. Includes that Steve Jobs quote, deciding what not to do is as important as deciding what to do. Saying no, prioritizing.
So focus is about purpose-driven time use. And there's a final challenge.
Your focus challenge, 7 days to reclaim your time and sanity. Daily tasks. Time audit, day 1, identify peak focus times, day 2, single tasking hour, day 3, mini digital detox, day 4, build tiny routine of Baraka, day 5, reflect, day 6, plan intentional week, day 7.
Wow, that covers a lot of ground. So the final thoughts from the book, what's the takeaway?
The core message is personal growth fueled by faith, a reminder that you weren't meant to stay stuck. Change and evolution are possible.
Even if change is messy.
Especially then. He acknowledges it's tough, but worth it. This first book focuses inward roots, resolve, rhythm, building the foundation for the later books on outward impact.
So it ends on an encouraging note.
Definitely. You have the power to change, to grow. The 21-day challenge is a starting point. The key idea, progress over perfection. Don't get stuck aiming for impossible standards.
A life rooted in faith, rising with purpose. That's the final encouragement.
That sums it up nicely.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Afwan RIyadi's Impact Book 1. We've covered a lot.
We really have. From understanding your foundation being rooted through the journey of growth, the power of grit, building inner resilience or steel, and finally mastering focus.
We really hope that you, the learner, found some actionable insights here. Maybe you're even thinking about trying one of those mini missions RIyadi suggests.
Remember, even those really small, consistent steps can lead to pretty significant changes over time. Don't underestimate them.
Absolutely. So here's a final thought to chew on, building on the book's themes.
Consider this. What is one small, consistent habit you could start cultivating, maybe even today? Something that really resonates with your core values and what you truly aspire to.
Something to reflect on. perhaps that's the first step on your own journey of impact. Thanks for tuning in.